and then every player on the ice has a 10-minute misconduct.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 10 Minute Misconduct. We're an unofficial FPHL podcast. We have Sam and Aaron joining us tonight, as well as we're working on, we're having a little technical issue with Kyle Powell at the moment. We're hoping that we can get him on, but just until he gets here, I'm going to turn it over to Sam. Sam's going to kind of break down some numbers, fill us in on what's going on with playoffs. Before that, how are you doing tonight, Sam?
Not too bad. Work's always interesting. So yeah. And hockey, it's always fun. And the playoffs with us coming into the last three weekends, some of these races are really close.
Yeah.
So, and I mean it's a far stretch, but I mean up in the Continental Division, you still have Baton Rouge and Whitfield that very, very far chance, but they still have the chance of possibly making the playoffs. Mississippi, all they need to do is get one regulation win this Thursday, and that secures the spot. And then, well, there goes the hopes for Whitfield and Baton Rouge. So, and then the last weekend will really determine Elmira and Watertown. Those two that they're tied right now, and it's going to come down to the last weekend, the last games for that one.
Yeah, and I want to shout out Watertown because last weekend the sweep upset the Bears was, they're not giving up. And I got to give credit where it was due. It was a couple good games to watch in that series, so pretty interesting. I'm sure all the fans are on the edge of their seats as well, trying to see who's going to do what and win.
Oh yeah. It that upset, and those also adjusted some other numbers when it came down to possible home ice advantage throughout for the actual Commissioner's Cup itself. So that could have played a big role in who's going to be actually hosting it, depending on what happens in the uh, quarterfinals and the division finals.
Right. And I know Columbus is close to clinching, is it the division championship? So they're close on that. And you know, I don't do the numbers. You're our analyst, you're our analytic guy. So I want to give a shout out to you because last week when we had put out the information about you know, which team was it?
Uh,
Um,
Last weekend it was the Port Huron, and then the week before was the Danbury situation.
Right. And it was like, some people were saying that, oh, no, we were wrong in this and that, but you were able to, look at teams that weren't playing each other that still like caused a factor into like who would advance and who wouldn't, or I guess who would advance. So shout out to you for that because that's all you. And that was pretty impressive because I didn't look at it from that aspect. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you. And I mean, I think what a lot of people were doing is at the time, Watertown was last place, and that's the only team you need to worry about. But a lot of people don't realize that with this 11 team league right now, the games remaining for a lot of the teams are all over the place, and that plays a factor into the max amount of points that Elmira could have gotten. And I don't think people were paying attention to that. So
Right.
it's where it kind of came down. And I mean, honestly, like there's what is it, Motor City? They only have 4 games remaining on their entire schedule. But then you got Mississippi who still has 10 games. So it's like those are a significant amount of points that could be earned or could be lost if people, don't quite pay attention to where those are. So
Right. And there's so many things to love about hockey, but one of the things that I absolutely love is you could be the best team or the worst team, and it doesn't matter any given night, anything can happen. And I think that's one thing that keeps it so exciting because, you go into something with a ton of confidence in your team and you're like, well, they didn't show up tonight, or go in with not so much confidence, but you're a super loyal fan. And I know the teams appreciate that. And I think every team at some point, whether you go to the top or you're from the bottom, there's always going to be like the transition. Every season's going to be different, especially in the Fed with, players moving up or even going international and going overseas to play. You really never know, so that keeps it pretty exciting.
And yeah, I mean, like you said, the overconfidence in some teams. I mean, two of those that really kind of come to mind is like last season with the Dragons versus Delaware. Yeah,
Yes,
absolute nothing the entire season from Delaware being the worst team in the league, in Delaware turn around and they upset. At the time they were the number one team. Like, you never know.
yeah.
And then the who is it? The Rumblebees. Uh
Oh yeah.
the Battle Creek Bees, one win the entire time they were a franchise, and that one win, hey, well, I'm sure they'll take it.
For
I
sure.
believe that losing streak that Delaware had last year actually beat the Rumblebees losing streak, because it was my favorite thing to call them the Delaware Thunder Bees, just
Oh, no
because they
kidding.
had
I didn't
beat
know that.
that. They did. They beat that record. I mean, what a hell of a record to beat. But and probably not the record they wanted to
Yeah.
beat, but they
I
beat
wanted
it.
for the W, not the L.
Yeah. Hey, breaking a record's breaking a record, right?
I'm sure they were all ready to break something.
So, guys,
Yeah.
it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with Kyle Powell at the moment. I don't know if we're going to be able to get him on right now or tonight. So, if not, just hang with us. We still got some cool topics that we wanted to talk about. And I know there's been a little chatter in the league, and we're still working on getting some information. But I'm sure, as most of you have heard, that there is a potential lawsuit that I'm thinking that is in the process of either was filed or is going to be filed, and I think it has to do with violations on like player safety, and it's coming from Ellen. I think her last name is Tully. I hope I have that right, but she was the owner for the Vermilion County Bobcats, and I don't know if you guys remember the shit show last year with that, but if you don't know about it, go back and watch. It was the first live we ever did, and we had a player come on, Dante Jarvis, and he just really unloaded a lot of information. He dropped the T and like really filled us in, and it was a scandal. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. But we've heard there's some other names. I believe it's an owner from, is it Fayetteville, out of the SP. Chuck Norris. You can't forget that name, right? Because it's Chuck freaking Norris. So he might be jumping in on that lawsuit. I'm not really sure, but we're being told that if they win that lawsuit, there's a possibility of like 4 or 5 teams coming to the state of Georgia. Now, I don't know if that's going to change anything for the Fed. If it's gonna, I think it's going to be a separate league, but all of that's kind of dependent, and nothing is set in stone, and that's just kind of what we know right now. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm researching right now a little bit about the lawsuit information, and I'm not really able to find much more than kind of what we already knew, with that Ellen maybe wasn't too happy with what was going on, but there is no confirmation at this moment. But I am, by a simple Google search, able to find that this woman is really interested in lawsuits. Keep your eyes out, because it's probably coming. I've got at least 3 right now
Are
popping
they
up
all
in just one second.
related? Do you know, or were
Um,
the years different?
uh, the years are different. The issues are different. The first one that I'm finding just off of the headline is owner of original Danville casino site sued by Ellen Tully. There was also a headline here: the choice to continue the contested litigation lies solely in the hands of Ellen Tully. That was related to the Vermilion Bobcats. Um, if you search her, a lot of it goes into about the ceasing of operations with the Bobcats.
Yeah, I know that was like a huge deal, and I know her
Yeah.
dad's kind of a big has a bigger business. I won't like put all his information out there, but I know he kind of came out and made a statement and basically said, my daughter's business is not related to my business, and there's no connection when it comes to that. So I don't know if it gave me some kind of vibes that maybe he was concerned that her business decisions would reflect on him continuing his business. So again, I know his business is completely unrelated to hockey. It has nothing to do with sports. So yeah, we'll just have to keep you guys posted on that. We'll keep doing our research and see what other kind of public records that we can find on that. So if you guys have any information, our emails are open, our DMs are open. Feel free to send us any information. We do our best to keep all of our sources anonymous. So yeah, you guys want to chat, let us know. And I want to open it up for questions in the chat. If you guys have any questions for us as hosts or anything like that, feel free to drop them. I think we're going to continue the podcast with just kind of opening it up to talk a little bit about ourselves. And I'm going to go ahead and offer you guys the floor.
How'd you get into hockey?
Me or Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay, so check it out. John takes John takes me, my fiance took me to a River Dragons game, and he'd always talked about hockey, and we almost went to some hockey games when we were, stationed in North Carolina. And anyway, he takes me to this game, and he's like hitting the glass and yelling and this and that, and I'm just like, bro, stop! You're gonna get us kicked out, you know. And within 5 minutes, I was hooked, and then next game, I'm obnoxious, just this 110 rowdy fan, never looked back, got super hooked on the Tampa Bay Lightning because my family lives there. And yeah, how about you guys?
So I grew up in Binghamton, which is a very rich, very, very thick hockey town. I grew up as a child kind of going to a couple of games a year. We've talked about it before in different ways. Binghamton was an AHL market the majority of my life. We were a league other than UHL or AHL, but I don't remember what it was. It was the BC Icemen. So I grew up going to games, and then the New Jersey Devils left us very dirtily. During COVID, they just said basically, screw you, we're out, have fun. Here's a really nice arena to do nothing with. So then the wonderful Andreas Johansson saved us, and the FPHL came around. I went to a couple of games and just completely fell in love. And we used to actually sit in the nosebleeds, and my boyfriend Kyle used to complain all the time. Not complain, but he would talk about, like, why don't we go sit somewhere else? Like, I always sat in the same section, which is just like a section where no one can hear you. You can't hear the players. You're not close to anything. Well, Kyle and I decided one time that we were going to go sit in a different section, and we sat where I could talk crap and people could hear me, and I knew they could hear me, and I knew I could get into some heads. Y'all can tell me, all you players can say that you don't hear me, but I see the looks you give me. I know that you're hearing what I'm saying. But it's this whole different world. And I guess it was just kind of like a Pringle. Had one game, couldn't just only have one, had to have a couple, 5-6 million more. Now we're proud season ticket holders, and I can't imagine my life without hockey in it at this capacity. What about you, Sam? How'd you get into hockey?
I was looking for where I parked my car, and no, no. So I've always kind of been a sports person. I've always paid attention to sports. I kind of watched a little bit of hockey. Never actually went to any actual games. And turn around, I got stationed down here near Columbus, and a couple of our friends had asked, like, "Hey, man, you guys want to go to a hockey game?" And it's like, hold up, how far, how much, kind of be careful. And they're like, "Oh man, it's like, 10 minutes down the road from you, and it's like less than $20, a ticket." And I was like, let me talk to the family. So I talked to the wife and the kids. Both my daughters were like, "Oh my God, yes, let's go. Let's check something out." So I was like, okay. And the wife's like, hockey's not my thing. I'm more of a football person. So it's like, all right, so this is a Saturday game we go to. And, my youngest daughter, extreme introvert, like she likes her video games and that's about it. And so we take her out and stuff. We come back, and as soon as we got home, here she is. She's all up in mom's face, like, "Oh my God, that's the greatest scene ever! Yeah, woo!" And wife's like, "Oh man, if she had that much fun, maybe I'll give it a try. When's the next game? Tomorrow. Let's go! Woo!" So we turn around and we bought tickets for the next day game, and the wife's like, okay, not too bad. Let's try a couple more games, right? And this is coming near the end of the season, unfortunately. Uh, so we only got to go to one or two games after that. And at that point, kind of, like you said, you bounce around, try to figure out your section, your group, your peoples. And we definitely did bounce around. And that's actually kind of how I met Anna. Was it
You should tell that story because it's pretty damn funny.
Oh man. Uh it was on a New Year's Day. It was a New Year's Day game. The Prowlers, if I'm not mistaken, it was the Prowlers were playing the Dragons down here.
Yep.
And I was sitting in the 110 section, like where we all hang out and stuff. And I forgot what exactly the call is, but Rose Bloom, gentleman that played for the Prowlers back then, he ends
Mr.
up in the
Quentin.
box. Yes, Quentin. uh, he ends up in the box, and I'm kind of glancing over because she's over to my left side, and she's kind of like, "Hey, hey, hey, what's that number?" I was like, "What do you mean? What's the number on the guy? His jersey and stuff." So I'm kind of like standing up. I'm looking. I sit there, tell her. She starts just yelling at him. He turns around. He starts yelling at her. Another prowler ended up in the box at some point, and she just keeps going back and forth with Rose Bloom. And he ended up kind of doing a rude sexual kind of hand gesture kind of towards her. And at that point, she sits there
Piss me
and
off.
she like, "Oh, excuse me," and like starts scooting even further down towards where I am. Then she ends up just laying over my daughter, laying over her fiance, laying over my wife. Ah, fuck you, dude. And just kind of going ham on Rose Bloom. I look over at my son-in-law at the time. He's just sitting here, and Anna's, ass is pretty much just right there. And he's like, and I like look over and I'm like, what the hell is this? And they're just going back and forth, and it's just like the greatest time. And God, who was the other guy in the box? There was another guy in the box, and he started sitting there. And I think something happened with the telekinesis between Anna and my wife at that point, because my wife
Besties.
usually pretty mild, and especially sporting events, you just cheer for a goal, a touchdown, or something. Something triggered at that point to where my wife just started yelling at the people in the box, and I'm kind of like, who are you? Like, right? And the other guy in the box was just sitting here, just like, hey, show me your tits and stuff. And,
It was a crazy situation.
oh, absolutely insane.
And we've been
And
great friends ever since.
the,
Oh my God.
yep, that exact day was January 1st, 2022. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
110, that's kind of where like we, really started calling ourselves the 110, which is pretty cool. So shout out to the 110ers. You guys are the shit.
The funny thing is somebody mentioned somebody yelling at somebody in the box or doing something in the box, turn around, Anna, my wife, like, it's like, hey, that was me, or something like that. Immediately, friends request, and
And that's all she wrote.
That was
It's
it.
so funny how hockey will bring people together. And I think it's hilarious that you say that, like, your wife's, typically a quiet person, doesn't really yell. I tell everybody, I'm like, hockey me and work me and real life me are three different people. We're very much the same person, but we are three different people. I've had to tell my bosses at work, if you see me at a hockey game, no, you don't. If
Yep.
it's great. If you want to come say hi, it's wonderful. But if you see me at a Bears game and you see what I'm doing and you hear what I'm saying, don't hold it against me because I'm not at work. Like,
Yeah.
that's not work me. It's okay. That's not work me.
Maybe just a quick wave, like, hey, acknowledge you. Game.
See you Monday. Yeah. So we have a couple questions in the chat. Just a Bill said, "What led you to start the podcast, and what has been your favorite interview?" So the podcast originated from some of the admins from a different Facebook page that was started, and we just kind of like mentioned it one day, and then like I think like a whole season went by, and I was like, okay, I think we're established enough. Like, what do you guys think about starting the podcast? So it was very just, hey, like, do you guys want to see what happens? And we have this awesome producer that was like, hey, I can make it happen from behind the scenes, and he's great. So shout out to him and his team. Y'all kill it every week. And yeah, so it just kind of originated from there, and we just got into it kind of as a hobby because we all just super love hockey. And man, favorite interview? Gosh, we've had some really good ones. I want to say, man, they're all good for so many different reasons, but I love when Justin Schmidt comes on because he is so freaking funny. He's got the best stories. So if you're watching, Schmitty, we miss you. Can't wait to have you back on. But I gotta say, I love every interview for different reasons. It's so cool to get to know the players like off the ice so you can see that they're humans and like, find out if they like pineapple on pizza. We got to know these things. So, what about you? What interviews have you guys enjoyed the most so far?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you're like, I love them all for so many like reasons. And like the Schulte interview was like my holy grail because hey, I reached out to somebody. Hello, everybody. I reached out to somebody and I was able to get someone who's, in a way a hero to me to come on and be like, heck yeah, I'll come talk to you guys. But at this, so like, no disrespect to that. And, like, I was super excited for this one. So sorry that Kyle's having technical difficulties. We will definitely have him
Mhm.
on at another time.
For sure.
But I think some of my favorite interviews that I've been privileged enough to do with you guys are ones that were like J Mac, to be honest, J Mac and Zach
Yes.
last week. And people that, yes, I know them. I know their name because I just love immersing myself in this league. And I've done my research even before this. But the people that I really went in thinking, oh my God, I'm going to flop this interview because I don't know what to ask them because I don't know them. And then they just make it such an amazing interview. And you almost like don't have to try. Like your next question just comes based off of what they said. And there's just, I don't know, we've done so many interviews. I mean, I really haven't been a part of that many, but I feel like I also have that. I don't know. I just, this has just been such an amazing experience. And just being a part of this has been so awesome. They've all been so phenomenal.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, each one of them brings their own vibe, their own kind of uh twist on it. Um, so many great ones. And I'll tell you, I was actually thinking about it. Gosh, I think about it every now and then. It's just crazy to me. Pace, that dude,
He's
his
awesome.
memory of like exactly first name, last name, exactly when what happened, that particular trip, like that dude's memory is something else. And just the stories, because he's been around the league for, at
Ever.
least 2 days
Yeah.
before the league was a league. But like just his memory and who he is on the ice. He's always a showman. He has those great stories. It just like the flow with him, it's just great and continuous. So, I mean, Pace is definitely a good one I like because that memory and those stories, like, those are something else. Especially
Another oh yeah, the bus story for sure. Another one I really enjoyed was crossover night, just because it was nobody else that I know of in the league has done anything like that before. And it was, I know it may seem a little easier, like when you guys are viewing versus like us setting up the times, getting our guests, like we're trying to keep up with the news. We're trying to bring you the scores as quick as possible while also being at hockey games. And so much goes on. And I just think crossover night was so amazing. Like it took an entire team of people to pull that off. So, but those guys, I'm telling you, when Divine was like, shut up, Anna, so funny. Like seriously, or
man,
like,
it's our show.
yeah, I'm like, we lost control. It's theirs now. And then, of course, we got to shout out to Doug Kernan because honestly, I don't think I've ever laughed that hard on this show ever. So, hey, Doug, we are not your biggest fans, but we're your fans.
Hey, Doug, email us back.
Yeah,
Answer our questions. We love
please
you.
answer one question. I think we should give him a call this week just so he doesn't return our call.
Try to shoot him another email, see if he responds to that. Text, call.
I see a question from John in the chat, and I'm definitely going to ask it, but I got to go with an OG question. Shout out Miss Allison Wentz. Pineapple on pizza. Where do you guys stand?
Do I look like I say no to much of anything on pizza? Of course you're putting pineapple on pizza. Of course we put it all on.
One yes for pineapple. Sam, what you got?
If you do it good. If your pizza's crappy, don't put anything on it and just throw it back in the garbage. But if you can make good pizza, you can put pineapple on it.
It depends on where. So anytime we do get pizza, that's one of them that's going to be in the house. That or pepperoni. Um, Usually I take a slice of each. I don't mind the pineapple. It kind of helps create extra juices and stuff if it's cooked right. So like that I don't mind, but you know, my personal favorite, like I do like bacon, pepperoni, and jalapenos. Yeah, I'm more that type, but nobody else likes jalapenos.
For me, I just like pizza. Honestly, I love pizza. But I tried pineapple on pizza for the first time like less than a year ago. And I was like, I went into it like this is gonna be terrible. And it was so good that it almost pissed me off that I'd like been missing out for like my whole life. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I need to be a little more open-minded when it comes to trying different foods.
We have a local pizza place here in Binghamton. My Binghamton fans will know what I'm talking about. Nurchie's makes a pickle pizza, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if you like pizza. I don't care if you like pickles. I don't care if you hate them both. Put them together on a damn pizza. They're fantastic. This pickle pizza, it's like the best pizza ever. And Nurchie's is the only place that does it right, which is just a local chain. But pickle pizza, my guys, I'm telling you, if you get the opportunity, you gotta try it.
I will try that because down south, we just take every food and fry it.
Yeah,
So
you're
fried pickles, fried Snickers. It doesn't matter. You could throw a solid squirrel in the fryer, and I promise you, somebody's gonna eat it.
So I mean, definitely with that, are the pickles fried or are they just like
No,
just
they're not. They're
I
not.
bet that'd be good though. That'd be worth a
I
try.
bet that would actually be really good. Ooh,
fried pickle
it's so good.
Huh.
So I actually made pizza for 7 years at a local college. That was one of my first big girl job. I ran a pizza station. My favorite pizza that we ever made was pierogi pizza and cheeseburger pizza. This
Pierogi pizza
our
sounds interesting.
pierogi pizza was great. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It was mashed potatoes, caramelized onions, cheese. It was fantastic. but the cheeseburger pizza that I made had ketchup and mustard that was put on the top after it came out of the oven. I know that it sounds ridiculous, but it was delicious.
I have
Ooh.
to try that if I see it. So let's talk a little bit about you guys, let the fans get to know you. You guys, if you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the chat. Now's your time. Roast us if you want. We're pretty much open to whatever. So what questions do you guys have?
Mm,
Sam, you
Well,
first.
I was gonna say if you could talk a little bit about your careers, tell us a little bit about what you do for a living.
So I run a group home for the intellectually and developmentally disabled. I work for an agency who provides services to those of varying abilities and disabilities. I particularly run a home with 6 individuals that range from 45 years old to about 69 years old. We do all sorts of things with them. We kind of just teach them how to somewhat live independently. We take them out into the community and teach them how to be parts of their community. We take them to bowling tournaments. We take them to hockey games. We do all sorts of stuff with them. My house is a little bit older, so we don't do as much of those things, but we do a lot. And it's probably one of the most rewarding jobs in the world to be able to help someone with the simplest of things that you or I would just be like, hey, I'm going to go do my laundry, where we're assisting people to be able to live on their own, not have to live with family, not have to live with their parents, but be able to live in a home that is theirs, that they, are a part of, and to be able to help them do things that otherwise they may not be able to do.
That's really amazing. How about you, Sam?
Well, you see what happened was less than a year ago, I actually had a clean shaven face and I was actually still wearing the military uniform. I was in the Army. Over 22 years, I actually ended up going ahead and retiring. And I was thinking about just living off of retirement, but the economy made me go get another job. I'm working a contract on Fort Benning, Fort Moore, depends on who you talk to. Uh, and I mean, other than that, I go to hockey games, I talk crap to everyone, and I just, yeah, whatever.
Well, thank you for your service. That's very amazing. You both do incredible things for the community, and I think that's so awesome. And then as for me, I've been a paramedic since 2010 and currently not working because, we move states so much. So, um, sorry, I was trying to read a message. Yeah, we moved states with John being in the military. He's about to retire soon. So we will be moving in the next year or so. Location to be determined, maybe back to Columbus, maybe up to Montana. We don't know yet. So as soon as I know that, I will let you guys know for sure. And yeah, so what this is a fun question. Let me look in the chat to see what we have. Okay, so John wants to know who our favorite players are, and for me, why is it Vasi? I know I've talked about Vasi a lot. Love the guy. He's kind of just the most, in my opinion, the most incredible goalie ever, and just the way that he moves, the things that he can do, he's just phenomenal. So yeah, love that guy, and pretty excited to see him every time he's on TV. Like it's kind of an obsession, but we'll move on. So you guys, who's your favorite NHL player?
Oh man, that's so hard. I'm more of a like free agent NHL fan. Like this might be sad to some people, but more of a Fed fan than an NHL fan. But I do love me some Vassy. I like Marchand because I think he's very unconventional
Yes.
and I like his antics. I love Nikita Kucherov. I like Mika Zibanejad because he played in Binghamton at one point, actually.
He's pretty
There's actually a
amazing.
few. There's a few that have played for in Binghamton that are still out there now. I'm gonna slaughter his last name, and Bobby Howard from the Power Play Post Show is gonna lose his mind laughing when he hears me say this again. But there's a guy that just retired from the NHL named Mark Borovchevsky. I'm gonna say it wrong, but Boro. He goes by Boro. I love him as well because he's one that I avidly remember watching in Binghamton. But other than that, I don't have like a true favorite in the NHL. I pay more attention to the Fed.
Yeah. How about you, Sam?
Um, I'm kind of with Aaron on this one. When it comes to sports, like I like the NFL. Definitely a fan favorite, but it's like Oregon, that being home, I don't have a team like that. Yeah, so it's like now I gotta adopt a team. So like Seattle, I'm a fan of the Seattle Kraken, even though they're really fresh and new. They definitely came in and were stirring up waves.
Yeah, I
Um,
like them.
like intros, the fan experience, and everything they do, like it's definitely great. Borderline Vegas cool, but Vegas definitely
They
has a lot more money.
and they got a pretty sick opening. So we only have a couple of minutes left, so I just want to do like some quick rapid fire questions, and then we'll go ahead and sign off, and we'll get Kyle Powell back on here. We'll get that figured out. So again, sorry about the technical difficulties. But okay, so first quick question. What is your favorite chirp?
It depends on the player. It depends on
Yeah,
the team and it depends on the player.
definitely.
I don't
Yeah.
know if some of my chirps are YouTube appropriate.
Well, I mean, we say a lot of shit on here, so I think it'll be okay. Well, I'll start with mine then, so you guys have a sec. I have my two go-to chirps. Of course, ref, does your wife know that you're screwing us too? That is one of my faves. And then also, hey, whatever number your mom's OnlyFans is trending, and when they hear it, that most of the time actually makes them laugh. So those are probably my two favorites.
I might try to steal that one.
Go for it. It's great.
Um, there's a specific ref, Bill Lyons, number 76. I'm not your fan. Don't like you. Um, I call him the Timmy Hortons ref. Kyle also will refer to him as the Timmy Hortons ref, and the people who sit next to me will call him the Timmy Hortons ref because I have yelled at him many times that he has the Timmy Hortons menu memorized better than the rule book. I like the hey ref, does your wife know you're pregnant? You just missed 3 periods. Um, Now that you put me on the spot, I can't think of all my good ones. Oh, I did tell somebody one time they couldn't get a goal if it came in a Happy Meal. That was definitely one of my proudest moments. Um, I'm gonna think of all of my good ones once we're logged off, but I think those are the best ones I can think of right now.
I'd I'd say definitely one of my favorites because I try to get a reaction out of the player, even if it's just kind of like tilting up to listen to me yelling at them or something, just some sort of interaction. But definitely one of my favorites. It was actually Daniel Lansbury. Uh, he ended up in the box at one point down here in Columbus, and we were all just chirping, 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 and like nothing was good to him. He just was like in the zone. And eventually I hollered at him. He tilted his ear a little bit, and I said something along the lines of his mustache fights better than he does. And he actually like turned around and Like, yeah, that was a pretty good one. And definitely some of the shorter players in general. Um, Me and a couple other people from the 110 will start singing Oompa Loompa and start doing the whole motion and everything with it. So those are definitely some good ones that I like to go to.
So we'll wrap it up with I see a question in the chat. Oh man, there's two questions. So we'll do just super quick answers. One of the questions is what FPHL player do you least like? Asked by Sam.
Oh,
Not me.
Sam, I love you.
Not this Sam, other Sam.
Oh, Sam. Sam that asked the question. He knows I love him. I don't know. The one that I like the least is like not in the league anymore, and I'm gonna piss people off if I say his name, so I'm not saying it. And I don't mean Daniel Amesbury. I don't mean Daniel Amesbury. Actually, with that, I am not a fan of Tobias Ojic. I know he was put on season-ending IR at the beginning of the year. I'd love to talk to him. I'm sure he's an amazing guy off ice. I just have a
He
bad
is. We
taste in
did
my
an
mouth.
interview with him.
I have a bad taste in my mouth because of something that happened last year. I don't know him as a person. I can't honestly judge him, but I'm not a fan after what happened with him and JT in one of our playoff games.
What about you, Sam?
Everybody knows it. On the ice and stuff, the way he is, I gotta go to Carolina. Not a fan of theirs either. I'm not a fan of Schnapp.
Rent
I
free.
understand
He's
his
in your head.
role and
Rent
everything.
free, Sam.
Well, I mean, I understand his role and stuff on the ice, but it just I I on the ice, I cannot I no that
You know,
that mm-mm.
I have to agree with you. And no hate to Carolina or Jacob at all. We've tried to get him on the show a few times. I'd love for you to come on and change our minds. I don't like the way he plays on the ice personally. I have a fun story about how his mom told me to F off one time. So this is probably the only chance I'll ever get to tell the story, and so I'm just gonna say it. So we were playing against them at home, and he speared one of our guys and like laid him out, and it was right at the end of a second period. So we go out, went out there to vape, and I'm talking to a couple of my friends, and I had no idea that his mom, and there was another player's mom that was there. I can't, damn it, I don't remember who it was, but she was so nice. So anyway, in Columbus, if you haven't been to a game when we play Carolina, Six You Suck is a huge chant, and I'm talking the entire arena. It's just a thing. I think Schnapp, in a way, kind of loves it, and it's expected. And anyway, so I said, oh, blah, 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 Schnapp, like, plays so dirty. And some lady said, who are you talking about? And I turned around and I said, number 6, Jacob Schnapp. And she goes, that's my son. And I look, and they're both wearing Carolina sweaters. And I was like, oh, shit, but I'd already committed. I said what I said. So I go, well, am I supposed to be intimidated? I don't know. I just kind of felt like, like what just happened? And she goes, no. And I said, well, he plays dirty. And she goes, well, you can just fuck off. And threw her cigarette and went inside. And it was funny because like I put something online about how I'd buy her a beer if I ever saw her again. I saw her the next day and she said, I'll take that beer now. So like it wasn't a big thing. And the other player's mom basically said, from her point of view, having an entire arena saying Six, you suck. Like I could see that being frustrating and hard. And then to go outside just to like decompress and then still hear people talking shit, which again, hand to God, did not know that they were there. I swear I would not have like gone out of my way to be an ass about it. But I went inside and I remember I was like, guys, guess what? Guess who told me to fuck off, And yeah, so anyway, it's just this funny story. So that's probably one of my funniest memories. So shout out to Jacob, shout out to your mom. Like I know she doesn't really like me and that's okay, but come on the show, hang out with us. I swear we're not jerks. Like I would really I know a lot of the fans too. Would love to get to know you off ice. I've actually heard really amazing things, especially from Carolina fans, that he is a great guy off the ice. But so come change our mind. And I think with that being said, let's go ahead and say goodbye to our viewers tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for standing with us while we're dealing with some technical issues. And yeah, we'll look forward to catching you guys in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.